basically what I want to know from you guys, and maybe Hugh can go first since he's on the phone, what do you want to see happen in the political world of the United States?
Well, I mean, what I can give you from, what I noticed about the politics is this: it really doesn't matter who's going to get in there. We know right off the bat whoever's going to be in there is a puppet. It's just, like we discussed many times. The only reason I think that, for instance, like Romney is even getting close is that the Mormons have quite a bit of money to play with. They have good connections. And it really comes down to who can get themselves in there and help the lobbyists the most. And I don't think that they're going to allow him. I think that, for instance, in my opinion, that Obama's done an excellent job in one thing, and that's helping his buddies majorly.
True.
So I think that they're going to put Obama back in for another 4 years. That's what I am predicting right now.
I did that too. I said that too, like last week. I said, I think it's going to be Obama. He's going to be back in. But I don't believe that you vote, and your vote matters. I think they just pick it, and they make you think.
Hey, we found something we all agree on.
Well, that's the thing. You don't have to be. You don't have to have beliefs to know this, and that's the funny thing. I talk to people all the time. They're like, it doesn't even matter. I won't even get into the religious stuff or anything with them. And people are starting to wake up to this. They recognize what's going on. It's so obvious that thing with Osama bin Laden was way too convenient. It's so obvious that they're raising the debt ceiling. I mean, like this. What the heck are you guys doing? I need a bailout. The banks don't need a bailout. If they're too big to fail, they're too big to be.
Mm-hmm. But they don't give a crap whether you need a bailout. You're not important.
No.
You're not important any way, shape, or form. Unless you have a FDIC after your name, just doesn't matter.
No, it's very true. The politics are a sad thing, actually, in this country. And if George Washington was alive, he would literally get an army together and go take it back. That's exactly how I feel about it.
Let me ask you a question. What would be the ideal government? Would you guys like to see, myself, I would like to see a third party really jump into this. I want to get rid of the two-party system.
We have some really, really good comments in the chat room right now, and I don't even know where to start with them because we've been kind of chatting about this for the last half hour during the other debate.
Yeah, the rant.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some really good things. Really interesting things. And I know unemployment came out. Was it this morning or yesterday morning? And we're at 9+%. And I knew this. And someone who is, I'm not sure who Anonymous 4672 is, but they kind of really know what's going on in the chat room. And they're absolutely right. They said that no president has ever remained in office with unemployment above 7%, which is, it's been since FDR, I think.
Yeah, it was FDR.
Yeah. So, that's very true. Obama has a lot of things that he's up against, and they really thought that he was going to ride this way forever of killing Osama. But, man, the economy just sucks and sucks and sucks. And I think I've said sucks like 10 times tonight, so I'm going to think of another word. But it's just been bad, and nothing good is coming out of it. And all of a sudden, people are like, okay, great. Osama's dead. Got that done. But now what are we doing? We here in Ohio, 1 in every 17 houses and 17 homes are in foreclosure still to this day. We got unemployment. It's bad. But the thing is, who is out?
Empty.
Yeah, exactly. The MedMart that was supposed to bring in so much new employment to Cleveland isn't full. They're opening that. It's kind of a mess right now.
Talk about magic. This is real magic. When they can pull something over your eyes where you don't even really realize what's going on in reality and what's going on with the economy. I mean, like another sad thing, I just heard this number the other day, that there are 1 in 4 children are starving in America now. That has completely blown me away. Like, are you serious? These people can't even feed?
And how much money do we send to other countries? And,
exactly.
I feel, I look at the little starving children in Africa. Oh my God, it breaks my heart. I want to personally go there and feed every one of them and hold them and make them better. But I can't think of, as a country, us sending money to other countries to help their children when, in fact, like you said, we have so many starving children here. It's unacceptable.
Let me ask you guys a question, though. Can we blame ourselves for where we've let this go, and how it's gotten to this point? I mean, can we blame ourselves for this?
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
definitely. We're greedy, we're fat, we're lazy. We don't even really do anything to try to help. I mean, like, let me ask you this. This would be a counter question to that. What do you think as far as, do we not have the food? Do you think that's the case?
I think the food is there. I think
We
just
definitely
people,
have the food.
we're getting ripped off. It's
Yeah.
super expensive, and people are dependent on grocery stores. Like I've said in past stores, there's a lot of people out there that if the grocery stores closed down today, there are a lot of people that wouldn't know how to grow their own food. They wouldn't know how to
That's
prepare
another
their own
thing,
food.
though. Like certain not countries, like little farm places around here
Right.
in Ohio, they've come in there and said, you can't grow this.
Right,
You
right,
can't do this. And
right.
they closed it down.
And a lot of people wouldn't know how to shoot a gun to go out and hunt.
Well, there's a bill that went in there that they're trying to make it so you can't do all of that. And it's actually, there's a company, Montesino or something. I forget what the heck it's called. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Monsanto. They are.
Yeah, Monsanto.
Yeah.
Dude,
They're
those guys are trying to
horrendous.
shut everything down.
Yeah.
And
I bet
it's
you
bullshit.
anything they're in charge of that bill.
And it's bullshit.
Yeah.
They are. Literally what they're going to try to make it do is, I read through the bill like quickly one day and I was kind of blown away. Is that, all right, say you are going to grow something in your backyard. You have to buy certain fertilizers. You have to buy certain, setup that goes inside this. And if you don't, they can seize your land.
Yeah.
I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like,
And we're
just
allowing
like
it.
Jim just said, if you can't grow your own food, if the grocery stores were to shut down, talk about riots, it would be like Katrina times 20.
Well,
Well,
go
No,
ahead.
I was going to say, because we also got to keep in mind, too, that if something like this does happen, and I'm not trying to label inner city folk, but people that are in the inner cities are going to start spreading out to the suburbs and the more, wealthier towns, and they're going to start robbing people. You're going to see more crime, and it's going to be a mess. And that's one of the things that if something like this were to happen, that I would be afraid of, and one of my reasons why I want to have a gun.
What would you do, Jim, if that did happen with your family?
I would have a gun.
Would you? I mean, like, I've thought about this. What if there were 30 really starving people that ran onto your property? Would you go out and kill everybody?
I would have to protect my family. Of course, killing is going to be the last resort, but I can't feed them all either. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be a survival. I'm going to go into survival mode is what I'm going to go into.
Yeah.
I would never want to kill anybody. I mean, besides the rant from the schizopow that we just had a conversation with, I seriously, I've been in a position a couple times in my life where I've had to defend myself and gotten so close to having to do that to somebody, and I can't do it. It is not inside me. Like,
But
I remember,
let me ask you this:
Go ahead.
It's not my first choice, but if it's between you or
Being
him,
killed or killing somebody.
what would you do? Would you allow yourself to be killed?
Wait, we have
See,
another
that's-
anonymous who says, I'd teach them how to garden and put them to work.
Yeah. But go ahead.
That's
Sorry.
what I'm thinking. It kind of goes in my head too. I would rather have like a compound set up that if people needed to come to it, that they could come and help. And you would say to them, look, I know you're really upset right now and you really need help. I'll teach you how to fish instead of giving you a fish.
That's a good point, and I would be all about that. But how do we know that these people are going to be at that point? Because these people are going to be so desperate to the point that they're willing to do anything. They're going to kill to get what they need to survive.
You see, that's where you've got to, just like you're thinking, I don't think that I could be the executioner in that case. I don't think that I could be the person to do that because, like I said, I'm against capital punishment. I'm against all of that. I don't think any of us should be fighting, to be honest with you. We should be working together. We shouldn't be thinking like that. It should be like, okay, we've got a major problem. We've got to sit down and figure this out.
Sure, and I agree with you
I
110%
can honestly
on
say,
that.
though, if somebody tried to come into my house to hurt one of my children,
Oh, I have no problem
then
either.
I would snap some necks.
Sure, sure.
I'm not for it either. Like, I don't feel like people should be put to death sentence in prisons. I think that they should just stay there and rot
Well,
every
it
day of
doesn't
their
work.
life.
Well, let's
Capital punishment
just
doesn't
just
work.
look back at
No, it doesn't.
governments in past history when the government is supposed to be working for us, and what happened. I mean, we have the right to go and seize the government and redo it again, but nobody would get up to protest. No one's going to get up to do this type of a revolution. So how are we going to fix this?
I think we should get Hugh to do this because he's very good at
See, this is the whole thing, though. I've been discussing this with you, and the only way that we're going to be able to revolt together. I had a conversation with Sonny about this one night, one-on-one on Skype here. And here's the thing: we have to figure out how to get past these issues with each other. Okay, you have to let your beliefs go. You have to just not think about that. We have to think about being human. And when we do that, then we start thinking rationally. And we start thinking, what are we going to do right now? This is what I told him. I'm like, you have to figure out a way to get your people to unite because you guys aren't even united. There's 38,000 denominations
And
of
that's
Christianity. True. There's Muslims. There's Buddhists. How are we going to get all these people to come together and be like, you know what? we've really got to do something here. And this is what I found. You got George Washington said this. You are an American before you are anything else. Straight up. And if you realize that and you're a United States citizen, you can immediately get together with other United States citizens and have that revolution. But if you keep pushing things out, like, it cracks me up. If you don't believe how I believe, then you're this. Well, no. I am an American. I am rational, and so are you, and we need to think rationally. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Are you there?
You have something?
Yeah. No, I disagree. He is absolutely right. Everyone has to freaking learn how to just work together and get past all of these things that make us different. But when it comes back, and it sounds so like, oh, lovey-dovey, but we are all the same. We do all need to eat. We all need air. We need water. There are certain things that we all need to survive. And we're coming down to the point where there's that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it starts with, compassion, love, and social all that is at the top. We're a little worried right now, which is crazy in this country, about the base ones, like I said, the food.
Survival.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we can come together over how to survive and worry about the other stuff later on, then maybe we can make some progress.
Hugh, have you heard of the Bubba effect? Glenn Beck talks about it a lot.
You know what? I stop in on Bubba, or on, I call him Bubba, on Glenn Beck every once in a while, but I've not heard exactly what he's talking about with that, no.
Well, it's kind of like what you were talking about. What he says will probably end up happening is that, the people of the country will end up building their own cities, patrolling their own cities, monitoring their own cities, all that kind of stuff. It kind of reminded me of, what was that movie with Will Smith? What's that one I'm thinking?
Where he's the last one?
Yeah, he's the last one, and then I Am Legend, yes.
I Am Legend.
When he, I think it was the child at the end of the movie, they took a car ride, they went over the mountains, and they found that there was a city that was protected by its own people. I mean, I can see stuff like that happen, too. I don't want you to think because, I'm a person of faith that I'm just going to sit there and let all this stuff happen and say, well, God says, I'm going to go to heaven, so I'll just sit and let it happen. No, of course I'm going to, fight back, and I'm going to do what I have to do to try to make things right. But in the back of my mind, I still believe that there's going to be a better place once everything is said and done. But I don't want you or anybody else here to get the impression that I'm just going to sit there and just let it happen, because a lot of people get that impression of Christians, that they're just going to sit back, do nothing, because they think in their mind that whatever happens is going to happen and God's going to come and save them.
No, that's great to hear you say that, Jim, because sometimes when I hear you say some things, it makes me kind of frightened that, that you do kind of mesh those together. And there's doers and there's thinkers, and I'm a doer. And that's when I kind of immediately would jump in. I've thought about this. Okay, so everything goes completely, kaput. There's absolutely no structure whatsoever in the government. There's no food going around anywhere. Here's what's probably going to happen. I would go find the people with guns immediately, like you're saying. And those would probably be the sheriffs and the military people, okay? So let's say that you know where the sheriff's house is out. You better go find this guy, and you better get with him and try to level with him and say, look, we need to get a group of people together right now that's going to go around and patrol and make sure that no one does any looting and that we can try to get this area safe. And that's about the only thing that you could do at that point, to be honest with you.
Well, yes, Jim? No, Jim?
Jim,
are you still thinking about it?
I agree. I agree.
You know
he
what I mean?
shook his head. He agrees. For all those who couldn't see that.
I thought you guys had something to jump in on. I'm sorry.
No.
I mean,
listen.
I mean, this is just all speculation. I'm really hoping that we don't even have to get into this, to be honest with you. And the thing is, if we can do something about this right now, we won't have to. Like, I was just having a conversation the other day about this. Like, okay, think of how many senators are actually working for us right now. Just think off the top of your head. We got Ron Paul, Dennis Kucinich. There's like 3 or 4.
Kucinich. Yeah, that's about it.
There's, 4 or 5, maybe, versus hundreds?
Maybe.
I can say Paul and Kucinich. Those are the only 2 that I agree with the way they vote and that they do think about the people that they represent.
And even then, I kind of question them. I think they're all kind of shady. They all have a little bit of shady in them.
Well, I think to be a politician, you have to be a little shady. I swear to God, because you have to schmooze. And you have to.
So you should run.
Yeah, I know. I should run.
But it's not.
I'm the schmoozer.
It's not fair for people that would like to run for public office. They don't even get the chance because they usually get put in the dark because they don't have the financial backing.
Right. Right.
They've made it now that you can actually get financial backing from international sources. So it's not like originally when they
No
put all this
way.
into play, they made it so that it wasn't as rigged as it is, and it's just completely over rigged now. Like one real great story that I like to bring up a lot of time when I talk about this kind of stuff is Andrew Jackson. When he gets in there, he immediately gets in and fires like 2/3 of all of the government employees, everybody, because he knew straight out they were all corrupt, and that's literally what we need at this point.
I don't think that'll ever happen, though. Not at this point.
Well, how did Andrew Jackson get into office? I kind of like thought of that to myself. That really had to do with some of the wars that were going on and the fact that he knew the founding fathers. And not only that, he was the first president that really traveled around to get to know the people. Like where before presidents would be presidential, they would stay in their homes and they would just send out pamphlets here and there. But he really got down on, in the ground level with people in the front lines in the dirt with these guys and got to know them. And they knew, and they called him Old Hickory. They're like, if anybody can do it, Old Hickory can do it. And I really wish that there would be somebody that'd be willing to, step down out of that pampered lifestyle, and really get to know people. And that would be the person that would do it. The last person that I saw actually was like that was John F. Kennedy. And we all know what happened to him.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, if it's possible now for a candidate to take international funding, wouldn't that still be playing into some sort of a special interest group of some sort?
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what if we could get rid of that? That'd be another way. Like Thomas Jefferson also said, I wish there was one more law that we could have put into place, and it was that the government could not borrow money. There's a couple little laws I can think of now that we've been going now for, as long as we've been going. And it's definitely, we've got to make it so that they can only get funding from people maybe instead of corporate interests. That would be a great one. And immediately we got to get, like you said, Jim, I like that. How about getting rid of all parties? I've thought about that one day.
I'm definitely all for that. B. West says something here in the comment board that he thinks that all the presidents are related. I don't think we've ever asked you that question, Hugh. Now, a lot of conspiracy theorists will relate all the presidents of having some sort of a connection through some sort of a bloodline. Do you believe that that's the case?
Well, let me ask you a question. So you're telling me that all the founding fathers immediately, all the ones that went in one after another, were all related? Because as far as I know, they came from separate families from, Europe.
Yeah, no, I personally don't buy into that conspiracy that they're all linked. I do believe that they may be all a part of some sort of a faction, let's say, either the Skull and Bones or something like that, or even Freemasonry. But I don't believe that they're all related based off of blood.
brothers in social,
Right.
a social network,
Right.
a brotherhood.
Because there's a lot of videos on YouTube about linking Barack Obama to being related to George
Bush.
W.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the conversations that we were having on Facebook about the Mason stuff?
Well, me personally, I have a lot of family members, and I've said this on the show before, and some people have kind of jumped on me for that, but I have a lot of family members that were Freemasons, and I don't have anything against them. I mean, all the Masons that I've known and the ones that have been in my family have been very, very good people and have done a lot for their communities and have done a lot to help people in general. But when you start getting into the higher levels of the Masons, like Sonny states, that they're doing things that we really don't know. Now, I can't prove that, but I can't say that they're not doing it, so I don't think anybody really knows.
We need to kidnap a Mason.
Yeah, but I don't
Tie him
they
to a
won't
tree.
talk.
No, they won't talk.
No, but it's just there always seems to be this disconnect between people who have never met a Mason in their entire life. They get to online and do this research, and then they come back and tell you, "Oh, well, Masons are just absolutely terrible, saint worshippers." It reminds me of the guy that we just spoke to. They just make up bullshit that they don't even really know what's going on, and they just get delusional because it's a personality disorder when you get paranoid like that. And I have personally known many Masons, just like Jim, never had a bad problem with them. I've even had some of them where I've been in positions where I need help, and they immediately jump up to help me. It's like, all right, this guy is a great person. They stick their neck out for everybody. They're good, loyal, moral people. How can this guy be that?
Oh, except for they don't let women in. I
Well,
mean, you
they
can
do.
be an Eastern Star or whatever,
No,
but
it's
you
different now.
cannot
Yeah, Eastern Star they'll
be
do.
a Mason. You cannot join the Masons, and I don't like that.
Well, did you watch that little thing that I showed you guys about there was a video I put on there, one of the Masons rituals that they do?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, but
No.
you got to understand something. Why don't they let women be priests?
But I have no idea. That's wrong too. Well, some people let women be priests now, but
I'm going to tell you why, because this is the way it's been for so long. You know, they stay with tradition, and this is why I hate
Right.
traditions. Emmy and I always get into this, rituals, traditions, it's got to be good. No, let it all go. Just start to think from scratch. Let's just be new people now. It's the modern days. We should seriously start looking at things a little bit differently. And like you said, okay, obviously it's not right that we, not let women be involved in all of this. I mean, you are the creators. Seriously, you guys should be the ones that are put on pedestals before men should, but
Thank you.
it just doesn't happen that way.
Well, know,
Jim's like,
and
well,
I don't think women should be kept out of these type of situations here. But we had a guest on our show probably about 2 years ago. Christine, you'll probably remember this. But remember, he made a comment saying that he noticed that the fall of morality and the fall of our structure here in the country started going downhill once women had the right to vote.
what?
Remember that, Christine?
I wasn't here then.
Repeat it again.
Remember when he was talking about once women were able to start voting, then that's when things started going downhill?
Well, that was about the
Yes.
time that the blacks also got their rights. So, I mean, I kind of wanted. He's saying that during the time that everyone was starting to become free, that's when everything started to go downhill, and I completely disagree with that.
Good. I swear I thought you were going to say, and I completely agree with that.
No, I don't.
No, I
I don't-
completely disagree.
Man. Yeah.
You'll find I'm not a racist person. I'm not a sexist person, although I like to make jokes to women about that kind of thing sometimes. Like, you'll find, like, on Facebook, they'll be like, some woman will be going off, and I'll be like, yeah, well, the Bible says I own you. That cracks me up. That is the funniest thing ever. Like, I own a woman like an ox. Yeah, I'm going to follow that. That really makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Well, now that we're on a topic of women, what do you guys think about Sarah Palin? Like I've said before, I think she's going to be making a bigger impact than we think when it comes to the next election coming up here.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. I'll digress, and it's related directly to what you're talking about. Why do you think that they put Barack Obama in the front line like they did? Like, seriously.
Well, I'll answer that first. I think the reason why is because I think what they were trying to represent in this election was where they were trying to really focus on that whole shock and change factor. Mm-hmm. And I think what it came down to is that they were looking at it like this. Okay, what would be a bigger shock to the world and to the people of the country? The first African-American president? Or
Now you're thinking.
Or
I
the
think
first
it's the
woman
first
president?
woman president.
No, Jim's hit it right on the head. The next thing that they'll do to shock the crap out of everybody is to put a woman in then.
Yeah.
We put a woman in.
That's all
I
we
guarantee
have.
that's what they're going to do with her.
That's
Because
all
I
we have
think
left.
that would be the biggest shot because women are kind of, people see them a little lesser than men. Maybe not all, but there are a good amount.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the presidents, it's always a race factor. I mean, I never thought I would have saw the day that we would have had an African-American president.
Seriously?
My
Really?
parents.
Oh, I know we would. I know there'll be a
I swear
woman
I
one
thought
next
we
as
would.
well. But the thing is, this is what keeps going through my head. All right, whoop-de-doo, it's a woman. Do you think it's going to be any different?
No.
Hey, we got a black man in there. Is it any different?
No. and there's nothing against that. It's not that I wouldn't vote for an African-American. I would,
No,
But
I have no problem with any
I
of
would
it.
vote for a woman, too. But I think that's just what caused the biggest shock factor.
It really has
He
to
came
be
out of nowhere.
Yeah, it really has to be someone who's willing to say, "I'm not looking for a second term. I'm not interested in starting to run again the day I get into office. I want to change things now. I'm not going to put up with the crap that you all try to make me
Right.
do, and you're not in my pocket, or I'm not in your pocket." And that person who does that is really they seriously going to have to consider that they may get death threats. They may get other, because people don't want to change. And certainly the political elite don't want things to change in this country. The status quo is just fine because they're all doing just fine still. Like the guy, did you see was it the governor who took a helicopter, the state helicopter to get to his son's practice or baseball game or something? I mean, these people still don't understand that the rest of us have had to cut back so much, and there are people on the streets and losing their homes and so many different things, and this asshole's driving taking the helicopter. So
10% of the people own 63% of the wealth. Think about that.
Right. Yeah.
90% of us are running around trying to get the rest of that wealth. It's insane.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a hamster on a wheel.
So those people, to be honest with you, the more that I'm around some of them sometimes, it's really hilarious. I mean, I see such a large disconnect. I had a conversation one day with one of them. I asked them, what if things did go weird? Like Jim and I, we were just discussing. Could you grow your own food? Could you change your own tire in your car? They will tell you straight up, no. I don't know how to do any of that.
That's because
I can change my tire.
I believe that's how they kind of structured it to be that way. They
it
want
is.
it to be not self-efficient.
Well, and it's not, like you were saying, Monsanto owns something like 93% of the seed crop in this country. And they go after farmers day and night who they feel are using that saved seeds from the year before. There's also this huge problem of we're selling our waterways. Corporations are buying the water. That's going to be the next great battle, I think, is when people have to pay exorbitant rates to get water.
Wait till you see they do that with air one day.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, seriously, you got to think about this. Okay, if you want to get rich, how do you do it? You got to exploit the people. You got to you got to find out what they need, and you got to charge quadruple for it. What do you think's going on with our oil? Do you think that we don't have enough oil?
Right.
We got plenty of oil.
Right.
They're just sitting here siphoning and using scarcity to try to make us think that something's going on, so we got to pay this high price. It's just insanity.
No, you're absolutely right. But it's partially, I think, what's going to put Obama out of office. There's always a backstory to all of this, and I have a feeling that there are a lot of people who aren't really thrilled with him. They try to curtail his, what he does, but I think they want him out. I think Big Oil wants someone back in there who's much more part of them, one of them.
Well, here's the thing. You got to keep in mind, I think that what's going on in the background are always conversations between these people. They're always in communication. And what they'll do is sort of like what the CIA does. They know what we can handle and what we can't. They'll push us right to the edge before we'll even flip out, and then they'll pull back a little bit. They'll suck us just dry enough, like a vampire would.
Right, like $4.20 gas, then it goes down to $3.89, and everyone's like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's $3.89.
So are you for tapping into our own resources, or do you?
To be honest with you, you know how I am about science. I know there's other ways to create power and do things differently. I think that we should get away from all these fossil fuels completely. I think we need to quit putting CO2 in the atmosphere. I think we need to get into something that's a little more renewable, something that's more green, if you want to call it that. I don't even like going near that word anymore because it's been completely just, it reminds me of when you used to go to the store and you'd see something that said like fat-free or light. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
And it has absolutely no meaning behind it anymore whatsoever when you hear somebody say green. All that means is they're changing the way that they're getting money out of it.
Right. Exactly. They're marketing differently. It's all about marketing. Did you see how Germany by 2022 wants to be completely off of nuclear energy?
That's not bad. I like that.
Yeah.
Nuclear is good, though. I mean, like, to a certain degree, nuclear is good. I don't like how it's got so many problems that if something happens, it becomes like, the radiation problems that we're having in Japan and stuff like that. But, I mean, like, you got to look at it like this. If we are trying to get ourselves to the next stage of a civilization, the next stage of a civilization, first of all, we got to get rid of all these delusions that we have. If we do that, we can focus in on reality. All right. Once we focus in completely on reality, we can actually harness either A, the power of our planet, using like thermal energies and things like this, or we can get the power of the sun. And once we're able to do that is when we can just get away from all the issues that we're having, because there are just unlimited amounts of energy for us to use. We just don't tap into it.
You're right. Wind, wave, like you said, thermal. There's so many different things that we could be doing. But once again, Big Oil does not want us to do that. So,
It's more politics. It's money. It's that top 10% that we're discussing that want to, and this is the thing, I get in arguments sometimes with people that are like Illuminati lovers, if you want to call them that. They're like, well, somebody's got to be in control. We got to get rid of the dumb people. I don't really agree with that. I really have empathy for people that cannot do anything for themselves, or people that are, that are sick or whatever. You've really got to figure out a way that everybody, and this is where, we get into arguments about the utopia stuff, that everyone needs to have that hierarchy and meets that, like you were discussing. And if we can provide that to everybody, we can, from there, we would be just lovely. We could do whatever we want to do. And I know that it's completely possible for that to happen, but the top 10% are the most fearful, the most delusional, crazy people, because they really seriously think that if they don't have that, then they can't do it.
You're absolutely right.
I look at it like this. You guys ever heard about the Titan moon outside of Saturn?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, this is the thing. Why is there so much focus on that? I thought about that for a couple minutes. That's a big planet full of nothing but fossil fuel.
Yeah.
Oh.
Think about that. So you got NASA and all these guys that are being pumped money by the special interests or whatever. They're really focused on it because I think they're going to send unmanned ships there.
Wait,
all right?
if
And they're going to bring the fuel back to us.
So that means, but if it's fossil fuel, that means that there had to have been living organisms there to create the fossil fuel.
No, because it's a little bit different. That's the thing that we're finding out about the universe. Each planet has its own type system. You know what I mean? Like there's the bacteria that's out there. It's all over the place, but it's not based off of what we know here on Earth. It doesn't have to be carbon based exactly. There can be arsenic based or whatever.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So these oceans of liquid that are there are not water like we know it. It's actually like liquid methane. So you send these unmanned ships there, you suck up a bunch of this liquid, you send it back here, and all of a sudden, hey, you've just got tons of more resources to use, and we can keep pumping it like that. Well, I'm sitting going through my head, but why don't we just figure out how to harness the sun's energy instead of going through all of that? And I really think it has to do with that the top 10%, they don't care, and they're afraid we can't do it. They know that we're running out of resources here. They want to figure out some way for them to survive. So that's kind of where they go with this. They just do what they can when they can.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I always try to follow the money whenever I think of that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, because that's where it usually leads back to.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what.
Well, people are asking questions. I know you brought this up during when we had Gorilla on, but it's about New Bro and Planet X. So you don't believe in that, correct?
Well, I'll tell you why, because it's been completely debunked by NASA, for instance. Like, look, here's the thing, all right? We know up to, like, imagine a car floating out in our solar system. Mm-hmm. We know where that car would be. We have the technology to be able to map that out and know exactly where that's at. And a lot of people don't realize this, but this actually was estimated to have come around in 2003. Did you guys know that? If you go read Andrew Stitchin and also that Zeta Talk. What was that one with the Zeta Talk? She estimated that would happen in 2003, and it did not happen. So what they did at that point, just like the people who just did the rapture that was not real, we're just going to push it back. If it's not going to be now when we said it must be coming around in 2012 because that's the next time that everyone thinks something's going to happen.
Well, there's also some talk, too, and I have to apologize. I don't know the name that they have given this particular galaxy, but they're also stating that there's another galaxy that's actually kind of migrating towards the Milky Way. Have you researched
Andromeda,
that?
yes.
There we go.
And that's the thing. When people, I always laugh about this, say, the end of the world's coming. No, the end of the world is not coming until Andromeda wrecks into us. And when that happens, that's the end of the world, my friend. Yeah, we're talking billions of years in the future. It ain't going to be any time near to us at all. Actually, there's two galaxies that we know of. They call them the mice galaxy, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
They're already doing that, exactly. They're two spiral galaxies that are starting to come together, and we know exactly what it'll be like. We know when it'll be, too. I can't remember the number off the top of my head right now, but I know it's billions of years in the future. I know this. There's a number I do remember off the top of my head that the sun will be too close to the sun in 1.4 billion years, in between 1.4 and 1.5 billion years, and it will cook all the liquid off of our planet, meaning that there will be no life on this planet at that point. Now, we don't know exactly the timing of when our sun is going to destroy itself. If that happens, that will destroy the planet Earth before that universe or the galaxy comes in and wrecks into us.
I don't think we'll still be here at that point in time, though. I really don't.
No, there's no way.
I mean, there's one of my favorite quotes of all times is in Jurassic Park when the scientist, what's his name, the fly guy. Does anybody know who that was? Who's married to Gina Davis?
I do. I love that guy, the mathematician.
Yeah, and he says life will find a way, and and that's the science in it, and I think that's absolutely right. Life will not let life die out, and we will be off this planet before it comes to anything like that.
Well, what is the point of life to you guys? What do you think life is, and what do you think it does? What is this?
I think that's the great question. To be honest with you, I think that's the question that we don't know, and that why everybody clings to religion and such, because they don't know and they're afraid of what they don't know.
Well, then they don't read biology because you can observe what's going on and tell exactly what it is. It's very simple. It's to survive. It's to replicate.
Procreate.
Yeah,
right.
To keep going and going. Like he just said, that's a beautiful quote. It will always find a way to survive, no matter what's going on. Some way or another, this thing will keep replicating.
But, yes, that's obviously, yes, you're absolutely right. But why? That's the big question. Why?
Here's the thing. Look, the mechanism on why it survives is because it wants to pass on its genetics. It wants to pass on those genes. You see what I'm saying? That's the reason why. It's okay. So if you want to look at life on this planet exactly, I had this conversation actually with what's that girl's name? Ashley. She wanted to know how life got onto the planet and how it started to work. We know that if we take these elementary chemistry, all right, and we put a little bit of temperature in there within a little bit of electricity, that they start to create molecules. Now, what these molecules do is they separate and divide, and they pass on their genetics. Okay, this is kind of what I was trying to talk with the guy that was in the conversation before, where he was saying, "Well, how do you know the DNA does that?" Well, this is something that we do know. Okay, so you take these two, you put them together, they're going to kind of mix together, if you will. That's the simplest way I could put it, because the letters and the DNA will mix together. Now, the whole point of that is for it to survive. Now, the way that it survives is there's mutations every once in a while. Okay, and these mutations sometimes are beneficial, and the beneficial mutations stay because that thing can continue to pass on those genes and those codes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's why. I mean, it's actually very simple. If you go all the way down to the smallest part, then that's exactly what's really going on down there.
Okay, I have two things. First of all, I said something and Christine said, no, that's not correct. So I spoke for her out of turn. And what did I say that you said that wasn't? I said that people
hold on to religion because they're afraid of the unknown, about dying or whatever. About
No,
dying.
because they want to understand why everything is.
I heard the dying part in there too, though. Something.
No,
about
that
dying.
is
No,
part
I
of it.
didn't
It
say.
really has to do
didn't
with
say
I
dying,
don't know.
honest. I just said, yeah.
But
What,
I'm not
because
afraid
you,
of dying. I'm
No,
not
I
afraid
didn't
of
say
any of
that.
it. No, I'm saying
okay.
in general now. Then I'm not afraid of dying. I don't care. When it's my turn, and I'm gonna go. And even before my son passed away. So I want to put that straight, just in case anybody ever tries to say, "Oh, well, maybe now because your son's."
Yeah, no, that's BS, yeah.
So no, I've never been afraid. What if it's going to happen? It's going to happen. I've been more afraid of seeing people I love die.
Yeah.
That makes me sad to think about.
No, I think what I was trying to say was that people look to religion to answer questions that they don't know. And my thing was, why are we here? What is the purpose of life? And I mean, well, Hugh just answered it in a scientific way. I think which I agree with, and I think that a lot of people are searching for that as well. And maybe the scientific way doesn't fulfill what they want the answer to life to be, and so they look to religion to look for that answer.
Maybe some people do.
Yeah, that's that. I think that's
You know,
what
I could say probably half probably do.
Well, let me just bring something up right here, because this is the misconception that I feel that people have sometimes. If you really start to understand nature and science and the observations that we see, there is so much more beauty in that than there is in any kind of fictional story that a primate could ever come up with. That's what I'm trying to bring up. There's grandeur in this view of life, and it's absolutely just amazing when you can understand it. Like, I don't even understand all of it myself. Like I'm saying, I'm smart. I know a little bit, whatever. But you guys are no less intelligent than I am. You could easily go and look these things up. And the thing is, when I start to read this, I get more excited reading this than I used to when I was a kid reading about like King Arthur. Like, it's just like, are you kidding me? That is absolutely amazing. Wow. How can nature come up with something like that?
And then are you like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense? Like, that's what I do. I read something, I'm like, wow. It's that light bulb moment that when I taught, that light bulb moment is what you live for as a teacher. And then what I get turned on most about as an adult when I have it, what it happens to myself. I'm like, dang, that was awesome. Hey, okay.
Yeah, could you imagine though telling some kids something that was not reality and you think that they're having that ding moment? You see what I'm saying? That's why I get very upset about religion. I feel like it's a con. It's a lie. It's just handing them something and saying, "Here, this is it." And then they're really having that ding moment. They're going, "Whoa, this is really it," but it's not really it. I mean, wow, how could you do that to somebody?
Well, okay.
I don't know. I just feel that God is real and that Jesus is real, and I can I accept the fact that you say, no, it's make-believe.
I mean, do you see what I'm saying, though, when I
get it.
I'm trying
when
to say
you talk
that?
to somebody, yeah. You get excited when they get the little thing and goes, ding, 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 and you're like, yes, you're getting it. I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's brilliant.
My husband, who's been sitting here the whole time and refuses to say anything, passed me a note, and like we're in third grade again. But his question,
yes or no?
It says, "I love you. You love me. Yes or no."
will you kiss me?
Yes,
in the
circle yes or no.
bleachers after? Okay.
Well-
It's okay. His question was about, we're talking about the propagation of the species, blah blah blah, and that's the reason we're here. But what about people? And we do have friends who have chosen not to have children, have no interest in it whatsoever. Are those just anomalies, or what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, like, you got to understand that there's a selfish gene inside of us, okay? And sometimes people don't recognize the greater good that needs to happen and the big picture. And you know what? I'm not going to hate on them. I mean, like, to be honest with you, I don't really hate on anybody except for people that try to drag things into other people's views. Like, if they were to come to you and say, you know what, you should be selfish, and this is why, then I would be upset with them. You see what I'm saying?
Hugh, on the line with us, we've got Fem on. I don't know if you've been to the site Godlike Productions before. We've had her on our show plenty of times, and they've got a great website, which I'm sure you've probably heard of. But Fem, thanks again for joining in. How you doing?
Okay, am I in now?
Hey, Chicky, how are you?
Hey, Chris. How you guys doing?
Guys.
Oh, we got Rags, too. Rags is with us.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Nice.
Hey guys, long time.
I
It's
know.
been a long
Yes,
time.
but-
We
What's
keep
been going on?
missing each other.
I know.
Hey, is Trinity still around over there?
Oh yeah.
Hell
He's
yeah.
been busy with the GLP astronomy.
Yeah, we just talked to Trinity about 2 weeks ago, right? She called in, I think.
Yes. Yep.
No. That
No,
was,
no,
Was that
Trinity
Storm?
guy, man.
No, that's
Yeah,
Storm.
Trinity's the
It's
guy
the
now.
Storm,
Actually,
okay.
Trinity, the original Trinity that owned GLP before Trinity that we know Trinity now, actually was a female. How long have you been on GLP?
Oh boy.
Me,
Yeah.
December 2007.
Yeah, it's been around for quite a while. It actually was sold to the Trinity. The Trinity that you know is a great guy, though. I like Trinity. I've had many conversations with him.
She's
Yeah,
never
when you guys first got that chat feature hooked up there, I got on there for a long time and had conversations with everybody. That was a pretty good idea.
All right, guys.
World deception.
It's going to be a crazy show. You're listening to EXS Radio. We'll be right back in just a few. Hugh, will you go to Jesus Camp with me?
You know what? I would go to Jesus Camp, and you know me. I'd sit back there and harass that woman the whole time.
Well, talk about indoctrination. I mean, that's exactly what
You
that
should have
is.
saw her.
I've
This
I've
lady
seen
was
it. I've seen it.
crazy. I was
Well,
so
this
mad.
is what I want to bring up to you guys. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on delusion. You're brainwashing, guaranteed right off the bat. It doesn't even matter.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I don't
So-
know. That's where I'll disagree. I mean, in that video, obviously, there's something wrong with those people. But there's what I like to say is that there's a borderline between being a realist Christian, if that's even a word, or an extremist.
Well, can you please explain to me why there are 38,000 denominations in Christianity and none of them can agree what a real Christian is? I mean, like, if you
because
could
that's
tell
the problem.
me what it is.
And that's the problem. That's part of the corruption in religion, is that everybody wants to take religion and use it for their own means, and I'm totally against that. That's just my personal opinion, and that's
It's a
why there's so
form of
many.
control.
That's why there's so many denominations. I go to a non-denominational church. I just want to be able to go to church. I don't want to have to go to dress up. I just want to show up as who I am, hear the word, and leave. I don't want to do anything else other than that.
Well, do you guys cherry pick and forget to tell them about all the fun stuff that I like to talk about with you?
Cherry picking what, as far as the Bible?
Yeah.
Some people
good-
will say that
the
I
fun
do.
parts.
Some people say that I do cherry pick, and I will admit, in some sense, I do. There are certain stories of the Bible that I think were structured in order to be as a form of control, especially when it comes to, like we talked about before, when Constantine called, the pastors and the ministers together to create one book. I think a lot of that was to help, build structure and to build law based on the Romans' needs.
Did
and
you
wants.
guys ever see that video? We have it on GLP. It's in my favorites, where one of the bishops out of Rome, out of the Vatican, he said, "Devil don't exist. We only created it to control you guys." Dead serious, guys. I'll pull that out for you.
Thank you very much.
And Bill Cooper. Well, if you're going to go back to Bill Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse,
Right.
he said religion was created by aliens as a form to control us. But let me go get that video here out of GLP.
That's something else I want to bring up, too, while you're searching that. I mean, we've had Giorgio Tsoukalos on our show before, which we're going to try to get him back on, and I'm a big fan of the ancient...
Giorgio.
I'm a big
We
fan...
had him.
I'm a big fan of the Ancient Alien series that's on the television here, but when
that's actually based off a book called Charity of the Gods.
Yep.
You guys might want to check that
Eric
original
Von
source.
Daniken. Yep, Eric Von Daniken.
Eric Von Daniken, yeah.
We do read a little bit around here.
Yeah, we sure do.
That's
We
well,
actually,
Listen, here's the thing
We
about
do a
it.
little bit.
Yeah.
If you follow all of
Hey,
that
you
back
guys
to
know.
the origins, it really is actually not real. He's a lot of his points are just kind of speculation. But I'm just
so
letting know that.
you don't think we were visited? You don't think there was some sort of a ET type of force that was here that helped start?
Let me give you my
Absolutely.
quick idea of that. No, listen.
Listen.
Listen. Okay, chimpanzees, all right, have only 3% DNA different than we do. Okay, let's say that these aliens have 50% DNA. They are completely advanced, way more than we are. Do you go and have intelligent conversations with chimpanzees?
Michael Jackson did.
No, I'm serious.
No, but
I don't.
You two from from GLP. Do you guys talk to chimps? Do you get anything out of value from a chimp?
Just entertainment.
But I
They
bet
eat
if
their-
you
they eat their-
studied them, you could.
They eat their poop. Come on.
Yeah, and
But they're
they'll
97
sign language a little bit. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you got to think about this. An alien, let's say that it is an advanced species, they don't care about us. Why are
Hey,
we so
Diz.
special?
Diz,
Seriously.
look in your chat. Look in your chat. I gave you the link to the news story, and this link over here is the video.
Now, Rags, you were trying to jump in there. You do believe in it, correct?
Absolutely, yes, I do. I believe that they had some type of interaction. What I mean, you know what? We've also had Giorgio as well, and we've had who was it? Philip Coppens, another one of the Ancient Alien guys. And I don't think I'm left without a doubt, especially after. Oh, I can't remember his name 2 weeks ago. Even to this day. And it was just on mainstream news. I think it was an ABC article or news piece. We still cannot explain how the pyramids were built with all our technology today.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, what is it? You give it to me straight up, and you prove it.
I will. I guess here's the thing. They have a couple of different ideas of how it happened. They're talking about either.
Idea.
Listen. It's either a float system or it's a ramp system that they built it with.
But you're talking about, either way, you're talking about harnessing energy, either with our own collective souls that we have no ability to. Okay,
Mechanical.
There's no way mechanical. There's nothing on this planet that can even compromise one of the stones, let alone.
I just told you.
What's that?
I just told you. You use a float system. You could build a boat type system that you could pump water into this, and it would lift it up like that.
Oh, you're on a float system.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But at the time, you got to remember, the Nile River, after the first flood, had changed before that time. So, wait a minute, where do they get all that water from?
And
You
is that
could-
that's just a
Listen.
theory, is it not, Hugh? I mean,
It is
we
it is
haven't
a- I'm
proven
Tell you,
that.
there's a couple different ideas that they have that it was possible for them to have done that. And if they needed to get water, like, you got to keep in mind, it was a very fertile area during that time. They actually had a lot of farms. They did have water in that area, so they could have brought it in. Yeah, they definitely could have. But I mean, like, I'm not telling you that I'm saying that is the exact way that they did it. Another idea that I've heard a couple of people that are specialists in that have discussed would be the ramp that they might have built. This is also known how they built other pyramids. There's quite a few pyramids around the world. Do you guys know about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially the ones that are underwater that we're actually starting to discover, or the other ones that are actually the ones in Africa, or not South America. There was a new one discovered. Am I right? I mean, the water theory. I can actually. That holds to me. Only, you know why I say that? Because I own a boat, and you know how many times I've gone through a
You
lock.
see what I'm saying? Yeah.
And I do. I've owned a boat. I've gone through the locks up here in Lake Washington. I don't know how many times. And you know what? I've seen some pretty big ass boats go through these very small locks.
So it blows my mind. I agree. They put so much weight in the water, and it's perfectly buoyant. I mean, but that's just one idea. You got to think to yourself, all right, look, these guys were pretty damn smart. I mean, they literally were looking out into the stars at that point and figuring out what was going on in the constellations. I mean, like, they knew mathematics. I mean, yeah, I'm telling you, they could. Listen, have you heard of Occam's razor? This is the best way I could describe this to you. You don't need to make up for all these things that are completely unnatural and all this. There's always a reason and how it happened. That is my opinion on these kind of things.
How about like Machu Picchu? Like, how in God's name did they build that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you think that maybe there wasn't somebody that came from one of these other cultures that figured out how to do this and then told them possibly?
I don't know,
I mean,
Hugh. I'm kind of, but it's kind of funny because when we talk about religion, you're like, you can't prove that, and I agree with you, but we can't prove these other things either, and so it does make me kind of wonder, like, where in the world did this technology come from? Because we haven't found the proof.
But that's
yet.
where Occam's razor comes in. Why is it necessary to make up all of these supernatural things that...
What's Occam's razor? Explain it, because I've never heard of it.
Occam's razor is essentially this. You have a whole bunch of options ahead of you. You don't make anything more complex than what it needs to be to make the answer. You know that there has to be a way that they did it, and it has to have been done. How would you do it? We would sit down and use some type of mechanism to make it happen. But let me ask you a question. Have you looked at, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so don't start jumping on, but have you looked into anything that has to do with the, what is that, the blue thing? What was that, Project Bluebeam? Yeah. Do you know anything about that? Here's the thing. Is it possible that maybe they're using this as a ploy to create more control over the people?
We have discussed that too. There's been discussion that, in the end times, they might put a hologram in the sky and say that's Jesus for every single religion. There's Allah, there's Jesus, there's...
Well, what about an alien? What stops them from putting an alien spaceship in the sky? But could it be possible that these things are just some type of a stealth system?
Anything's
it could be.
See,
Anything's possible.
I got to meet.
You see what I'm saying? But I mean, I myself.
I like what Hugh has to bring forward. I like Hugh. This is good. He brings a good mix. I like it.
See, I'm not somebody. I'm very logical. You guys will find out. I'm very rational. I will immediately jump on that before I'll jump to any kind of theory that is not going to be natural. You see what I'm saying? And it's fun to debate people that like the supernatural stuff. But Jim and I get into this all the time. I can immediately ask you to prove it. But here's the thing, though. You guys have got to understand that. We are still getting information, all right, that's being possibly, disinformed. They could easily throw out stuff out there to get us confused that we think we're biting on it. We think that's it. That has to be it. And that's how you kind of get people confused. Well, you do realize that all this has been happening since Rome. I mean, even Hitler did it. You could put up a false flag operation. You put yourself in to become the complete dictator. You control the people, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But this is the United States of America. And we've got to keep in mind that we do have the Constitution, at least a little bit still, past the Patriot Act. But, there's people out there they have to be saying something if there's something going on. I mean, I don't see how they've got everyone being quiet.
I don't have all the answers for you, sweetie, but I'll tell you something. We got a controversial guest coming on our show. What is it, Regs? The 15th, 16th, to somewhere. He's after the 13th. Richard Bradley Smith. Right? Right, Regs? I got the date. If you guys are available, I'd like you guys to pop in. This guy is going to tell us everything we need to know. I had him on the phone for 45 minutes. He's out in France, and this guy just wowed me.
What does he talk about, Fen? What's he into?
Basically, go to his site, IamTheWitness.com. He's anti-Jew, very anti-Jew.
Oh,
but he's
That's
got
not such
stories
a good thing,
on
though.
there. He's partners with economist Adrian Salbucci, and Salbucci's a very big with me and Regs. We like him.
Okay.
They've written books. They do seminars, and this guy's a historian. Even if what he says you can't prove. He's like Dr. Deagle. He just knows so much, and that's why he's out of the United States. He's out there. You don't want to be here.
Was he ever here? Like, is he an expat? No. He used to live in the United States? Okay.
Yeah.
But don't you see, I start to question sometimes when people start to get like that, because what is his agenda?
To tell people the way it is. You got to look at Bob Chapman. Bob Chapman, another economist, will not live in this country. He goes on all sorts of internet radio and tells us what's happening with the economy, what's going down. But he does not. We don't even know exactly where he lives. We just know he doesn't live in the United States. You got people that, you speak out. Look what happened to Cooper. He was known as the most dangerous man in radio. And Arizona sheriffs went over and killed him.
Cooper. Who's Cooper? Who? I don't know.
William Cooper.
Oh,
Bill Cooper.
Bill Cooper. Okay.
Bill Cooper.
I thought you meant DB. Wasn't that the guy who died in the air? Never mind. No. Never mind.
No, William Cooper, the author of Behold a Pale Horse. He was murdered for no reason, as far as we're concerned, on his ranch by the Arizona sheriffs.
Well, as far as you're concerned, do you know what happened? Were you there?
No, I wasn't there. But
Yeah.
I believe they wanted him shut up. Clinton wanted him silenced. Silenced for letting everybody know what's going on with our government.
Well, I mean, like, let me just bring something to your attention. I've talked to you for a little bit, and you seem like a cool person, but it just seems like you're so wanting to find something that's going on that you're willing to believe almost anything that anyone's telling you. Does that make sense?
No, that's not it at all. I
Okay.
just want to know what the truth is. And I've said this before, Rags is my witness, I don't discount anything. I don't discount anything. I take all the information here because I can't prove any of it. I am not a scholar. Some of this stuff is beyond my realm of even thinking. When it comes to space, when it comes to aliens, even some parts of religion.
Yeah, but
I will
you can
take
go
this
look.
information. I will take this information and I will file it away until I need it.
Well, I mean, like, don't you go read into astrophysics? Do you listen to some experts?
Some, not all, because that's not my area. No.
Oh, I'm just telling you that, like, when you go listen to experts, though, they know what's going on. These guys are so phenomenally, just amazingly brilliant, and they don't have agendas. Like you're saying, these guys that are economics, experts, they know what's going on. That's why they're not involved in the whole thing. And I'm telling you that there are other scientists in other areas like physics and astrophysics and all that kind of things that they're not involved in any of these agendas, and they are the ones that are coming out speaking very, very strongly at the fact that there's not intelligent life that we found yet. Like, don't you think that if an alien came down that he wouldn't go talk to, let's say, some homicidal, crazy politician, he would probably find an astrophysicist, yeah?
Don't know.
I would.
Don't
if
know.
was
I
an
would too.
alien.
I think that's
We've had
fair.
Laura Eisenhower on here. We've had documents produced.
Oh, we had her, didn't we?
According to her grandfather, and we've had Sandy Cito on too. We've had a couple of other UFO experts that we consider as experts that have a big fan base at GLP. And there's Freedom of Information Act with documents that I'm going to go beyond suggest that there is, because they're telling us that there is.
I'm not familiar with these people's names. I'll have to look into them. But yeah, I'm telling you that based off the experts that I've found, like the ones that I follow, the ones I've listened to all the time, I've not heard any of this from them, and I'm just wondering why there's such a disconnect.
How about this? Why is it that at the United Nations, the United Nations has an ambassador for aliens?
Because the United.
And we're not talking illegal people. We're talking aliens. There is an ambassador to the United Nations. Come on.
You're connecting straight into politics again, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. There's a major difference between people that are isolated away from the political system and people that are
someone gets this
objective.
cushy job and is getting a paycheck, and there's nothing out there, but they're just taking the paycheck. There's a position there for something.
I'm just wondering, whenever we watch the video at the UN, why we don't see Jabba the Hutt sitting up there then.
I don't have an answer. I just know that they do have this position, and this person's getting paid for this position, and this position's there for a reason. I can't prove whether there is or there isn't. I won't know until I see it myself.
I know that there's some really pathetically stupid laws. Like, from my hometown, there was a guy that was so powerful in the city that he wanted to show off that he was that powerful, that he made a law that you cannot walk across a certain street at midnight with an elephant eating bubblegum ice cream. That's
hilarious.
But this is my point to you. Like, what makes you think that maybe this position was just not some ploy that some guy gave to his mistress or something? I mean, these guys could easily be showing off their power and just not have any relevancy to reality whatsoever.
I go back to my meter. Is it possible? Is it plausible? Or total BS?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like total BS to me, that somebody has a position that you never, see any of that happening.
Well, the position's real. So as long as it's real and
So is
it's
the law,
there,
though.
it exists. But it exists. So if it exists, it has to be, at least right now, possible.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you. That's not possible. But I mean, I'm saying that if there's no evidence for it, then I am the somebody who will immediately just say that there's no way until you can show me the evidence. You know what I mean? Ask Jim. We get into this all the time. The person who has the burden of proof that's bringing the extraordinary idea to the table must show the evidence in order for it to be real. You know, and this kind of stuff to me, like, I don't really, grasp it, because I look at the science behind it and I say, okay, look, the closest planet, for instance, that's to us that could harbor any type of intelligent life that is to the point within a Goldilocks zone is 20,000 light years away. Okay, so I start going through my head with that. All right, you get a organism on this, technology that flies through space. It takes 20 years at the speed of light. Let's say they got some magical technology that's so advanced they can go to the speed of light. Well, in 20 years, this thing's got to have quite a bit of food or something there for it to eat, and it's got to be able to get rid of its toxins. So it's got to have something there for it to eat. So is it going to put 20 years worth of food there on it? You see what I'm saying?
I don't know, man. Captain Kirk did good.
No idea. We keep pointing to these fictional stories to try to come up with answers for things that I want to have real answers to. That's what I'm trying to bring to your attention.
And that's what we do at GLP. We sit there and we take whatever, and because everybody else might have a thought, they might have a theory that, again, we go back to, is it possible, is it plausible, total BS. And we won't know until it happens, and we might be waiting an awful long time. But there has been news. There has been news on TV, in written media, coming out of, we're going to call higher up positions, Vatican, Washington, that there is going to be disclosure. We just have to wait and see. I've been hearing about disclosure for 4 years.
Right.
I'm still waiting. If I had a pee, man, I mean, I'd be turning yellow.
Wow.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. What do you think about what happened in China with the UFO that was over top of their airport, and they had to shut down the airport? Did you hear about that?
Well, we had that here. We had a star fleet over New York and New Jersey. We had it out on the West Coast, and not too long ago, Regs, you remember my thread. My son called me over the winter, and he goes, I think it was December or something, and my kids were all outside, and they go, Mom, what the hell's that light over here? Now, I live by Harrisburg International Airport, and I know the flight patterns. I know what everything looks like. This thing was stationary over my house, and we got a picture of it. Now, yeah, it's just a light, but no plane is going to sit there in idle over my house, with a light up in the sky. It just doesn't happen. And then the thing just disappeared. Gone.
Well, my reason for asking you that is you do know that particular one has been debunked.
Oh, mine was debunked?
No, the one I was telling you over top of China. Now, what I just did is I was pointing out something that I know that was debunked for sure. I'll show you some evidence from a guy who's he's an astrophysicist as well, and he went in and took a look at it. Now, what you do is you're looking into these things from a different angle from what I do. Okay, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm saying is I look at everything very skeptically, more so than you. More to the event that I'm looking for natural causes that cause these things. Okay, and I would be more prone to believe something that maybe the government is using the hologram technology to fool people than I would that somebody traveled for 20,000 light years at the speed of light to get here to talk to some primates that still believe in gods and that are killing each other for no reason. This stuff is so funny to me that everybody's drawing all these connections into it. What it reminds me of is when you go look at the Sumerian, the hieroglyphs, kind of going back to the idea with the alien stuff, that people look and see helicopters. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, let me ask you a question. If somebody would have looked at that in 1800, do you think they would have thought it was a helicopter, or they would have thought maybe it was something else that looked like that at the time?
Well, guys, I want to thank you for jumping in towards the end here. I really do appreciate it. It's been a lot of great stuff that we've covered tonight. Keep us posted, Fem, about the upcoming show that you want us to jump aboard. We'd love to.
The 27th. Yeah, I will fire you guys up an
Monday
email.
or Tuesday?
We want you guys the 27th. June 27th is a Monday. Mark your calendars. You guys are coming over.
That's fine by me.
Jim and I are the only two sitting here right now staring at each other.
I want Hugh. Can Hugh be there?
I'm sure he can. Hugh?
I'll come and check you guys out. What are you,
All right,
27th Monday?
No. Monday or Tuesday.
No, this coming Monday or Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, I will come. Yes, definitely.